Welcome back to my channel. Today we're trying this beautiful bridal makeup look from Danielle Estrada. I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. I will link her TikTok tutorials below. I used this yesterday for my engagement photos and I was so obsessed with it I had to share. I did do a couple of things differently / used different products here and there, so I go ahead and share those. But I hope you know that while you're watching this tutorial or Danielle's original tutorial, it really doesn't matter if you use the exact products. I feel like if you've got the shade that's similar, or you have something that works kind of the same, or even if you have something that's different but it's just one of your favorite products, like, I really encourage you to make use of what you already have rather than going out and splurging on different products. I actually only bought 2 products to redo this makeup look, so I used a lot of what I had on hand, and I highly suggest you do the same. I think that you're still gonna get a beautiful bridal look, and it doesn't have to break the bank if you're making use of what you already have at home. And I do feel like, even as an acne prone textured girly, this makeup came out absolutely beautiful. I feel like it provides great coverage without looking cakey, and I'm super excited to get my engagement photos back after having followed this look. So let's get into it. I am by no means an expert at makeup, and I feel like this tutorial was really easy to follow, but I thought it would be fun to go through it with you because I did use some different products, and also, as you can see, I have some texture that I'm covering. So for the base of my foundation, I am going to do it a little bit differently, just because I feel like underpainting on acne prone skin with texture and breakouts just didn't look the way I wanted it to. So I'm going to show you kind of some updates there, but I'm going to go ahead and link the original video as well below because it is absolutely beautiful. I'm going to start off with just skincare. So we're going to add some moisture back to my lips because they are insanely dry. For skin prep, I'm using this Youth to the People moisturizer. It's the Kale Whip. It's very lightweight, so I feel like it works well under makeup because obviously we're still going to put more on the skin, but we do want it to be hydrated. So starting out with this, again, very lightweight, acne safe. I never have any issues with this one on my skin. Nothing too crazy here, and I feel like it sinks into the skin really well, which to me is ideal because I don't want it to like sit on top and let my makeup move around a bunch. And then as a nice glowy primer, I'm going in with the L'Oreal Lumi Glotion. I just got a spray tan, and usually I don't tan my face very much. I might tan it a little bit, but it doesn't last very long because, again, acne prone skin. So I feel like I'm going out of my way to exfoliate a little bit more on my face than I do on my body. So the tan tends to fade there the fastest, and I feel like this just helps me even out my skin tone a little bit more. So this is the nice hydrated base that we have going. In the video, she uses Lancome Teint Idole. I'm not sure which one she used for my photos. I used this one, but I think that there's a glowy one as well. And what I really like about this is that it's just super lightweight. The bottle is kind of a disaster, but it is a very lightweight formula, which to me is ideal for photos because you don't want anything too heavy. But for my acne prone girls who are dealing with texture and dark spots, it actually has really good coverage. For contour, I'm using the Rare Beauty contour stick. She uses a little bit of a lighter shade, but I'm gonna go for this darker shade because I'm actually still gonna put foundation over this, and then we're gonna go in with a little bit more bronzer afterwards. What I noticed on her contour placement is that she goes right above the ear and down and does not take it in very far. And then we do pretty heavy up here, which I appreciate because I feel like into my hairline with a spray tan ends up looking a little bit messy, and then a little bit around the nose. To blend that out, I'm using this Hourglass brush. I believe this is actually a foundation brush, but I like the dense bristles because I feel like it gives you a lot of control. And then we're just gonna blend that out. I feel like because I'm gonna actually put foundation over it is why this darker shade works a little bit better than the lighter one in the video that she used. But again, as you can see, if I were to just do this as underpainting and not really cover it with foundation, you can see that a lot of my dark spots would really stand out, which is why I went ahead and still went over the top with foundation. I know it looks a little bit crazy right now, but trust the process. It's all gonna blend in beautifully. I'm gonna go ahead and do the foundation on the back of my hand and then just dot it on my face. I used 2 pumps, but we'll see if we actually need that. What I will say is that even though I did go over my contour with the foundation, for the most part, I didn't go directly over the contour with like a dot of foundation. Instead, I'm taking this BK Beauty 101 foundation brush and blending that out where the contour isn't and then going over it. Because for the most part, we do want pretty light layers. I will say, because I'm using this for photos, it's not as important to me that it's extremely light, because I feel like in photos it's really not going to show up quite as aggressively as if you're doing this as your actual bridal makeup. But depending on your shade match, I feel like you may not need that quite as much. And then I'm really making sure that I get into my hairline, because otherwise it's gonna be just very different because of the tan. In the video, she goes back over her bronzer with a little bit more. I'm using Dibs Beauty. I feel like this is particularly important because I did kind of cover some of that bronzer with foundation. And even though it shines through a little bit, it's not crazy. So this gives a little bit more of that bronzy look. I also just feel like this dipstick is so creamy. For blush, she blends 2 different blushes together. This one is Smashbox Halo. This is a lip and cheek tint, so if you wanted to, you could also use this on the lips. It's in the shade Wisteria. It's honestly super pretty, but I will say it's a little bit of a thicker formula, but not too bad. Some of the lip and cheek tints that I've tried I feel like are gross, but this is still watery enough. I'm going in with that same brush and just dotting a little bit of product, making sure I don't have too much, and then going over my cheeks. Over the top, I'm using more of a bubblegum pink. She definitely uses a bright pink, but I think that this is a little bit more like neon almost, but I really love bright pink blush, so for me this is more of a natural fit. So I feel like you could go over it with any blush that's typically the shade that you would go for. So if you tend to go for warmer shades, it might still be cute to layer a warmer shade, but I feel like for me this is more the color that I usually go for, but in more of a toned down way since it's layered over that more natural blush color. For concealer, I'm using the Lancome one that matches the foundation. I ended up choosing this one because it's very lightweight, but it's still got great coverage. As you can see, it blends out really well. I have this in a couple different shades, and I'm mostly sticking to the under eye, so I'm using a very light shade. This one's 90. And I'm just sticking to the inner corners mostly, and then we'll drag the product out. To help maintain the pigment, you'll want to tap the product in versus swiping your brush. But if you feel like you've gotten too much, you may want to move into more of a swipe to help disperse the product a little bit more. But I do feel like with this concealer, a little goes a long way. And I feel like it does a great job of covering my under eye circles. As you can see, we have a very bright under eye now. And then what I loved that she did in the video is kind of go over that concealer with your blush brush. That way the line doesn't look quite as harsh. For powder, I'm using Huda Beauty. I use the shade Pound Cake. I love this powder. It's so pretty. And I feel like it does a great job of preventing creasing on the under eyes. So getting a little bit of this, tapping off any excess, and then pressing that in to the under eyes. If your under eyes tend to crease really quickly, what you'll want to do is prep your powder puff, go back in to remove any creases of your concealer, and then immediately powder and do the other side. That way you can avoid any creasing while you're setting the under eye area. For the rest of my face, I'm using this Hourglass pressed powder. And I'm using that with this big BK Beauty fluffy brush and just gently going over that. I don't want to use too much because I feel like that tends to be what makes my makeup look more cakey. But with acne prone skin, I do feel like I can get oily, so I want to make sure that I'm not letting my skin get too shiny, but still giving it a nice glow underneath, since we did put a lot of glowy, dewy products on. She tops her blush with a Dior powder blush, but I have this palette, so I'm gonna go ahead and use this one, which is what I did yesterday. This actually used to be one of my favorite blushes, and I kind of forgot about it until I watched this video, and I just feel like it's very pretty and natural. For setting spray, I'm using the Urban Decay All Nighter. I love how fine of a mist this is. I genuinely feel like this would make your makeup last like a full 24 hours. It does not budge when I use the setting spray. In the video, she used a Dior blush topper, which I don't have, and for the sake of this video, I didn't want to go out and buy tons of products, so I hope what you're getting from this is that you can take what you have. So it's like a light pink dewy shade that she uses, so what I'm doing is mixing Benefit High Beam and Benefit's Benetint. You could do this with pretty much any liquid blush and liquid highlighter that you have. I also love the Juvia's Place blush lighters, which is basically the same thing. You would just want a much lighter one, or if you just have a more pinky toned liquid highlighter, that's pretty much what we're going for here. So I used a little bit of that and then like a drop of Benetint, and then we're just gonna mix that together, and it's this nice light pink color. And we're just putting that on the high points of the cheeks. You could always use a beauty blender here, but I feel like the warmth of my fingers kind of helps melt that into the skin a little bit better. I don't usually fill in my brows a ton, but I did go in yesterday before photos with this Rare Beauty brow pencil and fill in any spots that felt a little bit light, which is what she recommends in the video. But again, I'm being pretty light because usually I don't fill in my brows, and I didn't want them to feel too different from what they usually would look like. But I feel like lately I've noticed some gaps, and so I really didn't want those in the engagement photos. I also feel like one of the benefits of going through a bridal makeup tutorial for engagement photos is that I got a lot better sense of what I liked. Like, I loved how natural and fresh this looked, but it still felt a lot more makeup than what I would usually put on. In the video, she used this 24-hour brow from Benefit, which I had not used before, and this is honestly so good. Like, I went to touch up my brows with this product, and genuinely, even with this actual product, I could not get my brows to budge. Like, they simply did not move. So I feel like when it comes to wedding makeup, this is beautiful. It's perhaps not necessary for like every day, unless you're like, I don't want my eyebrows to go absolutely anywhere, and then I would say go for it. But for every day, it did feel a little bit heavy for me, in the sense that like they were glued down pretty much. I feel like one of the benefits of trying out new makeup for engagement photos is trying out new makeup in general, is that I'm kind of learning a lot more about what I like and don't like for my future wedding, and I have a lot of time to learn because I feel like I don't know that much about makeup. Like, I don't use a lot of different products, so for me it's a little bit more trial and error of taking the time to like sit down and experiment with products. In the video, she used a Pat McGrath palette, I believe. But for me, I'm going to use this ColourPop palette, which is a lot more affordable. You basically just need a neutral brown eyeshadow, which you're bound to have. And if you don't, I'm sure that you have bronzer, which will be pretty much the same. She goes over the crease with this one. And I'm using the shade Good Habit from this palette. As you can see, I dropped it and lost a number of them, but unfortunately for me, I still really love this palette, so we're gonna keep using her until the rest of the colors simply don't work anymore. Danielle uses the same shade under her lash line, but I personally wanted it to be a little bit warmer under the lash line, so I'm using the shade Brew Me Baby for under the lash line. I just feel like it's a little bit warmer. It's still not too dark. For the outer corner, she uses a darker brown, and I'm just gonna mix these two colors. She mixes two colors that are a little bit different, but I feel like at the end of the day, just a darker brown on the outer corner is gonna do. So blend that out. Then she uses the Dior palette, this darker shade towards the middle to outside, and blends that in, and this gold color on the inner corner. In the video, she uses a brown eyeliner, and I tried like a burgundy color, which I really didn't like, and I just didn't have brown on hand, so I went ahead and used black. If you are considering following bridal makeup from YouTube or TikTok or wherever, I feel like it is important to really think about what you're going to continue using. And for me, brown eyeliner is probably a product I would continue using, but it's not a product that I think I would use that often, just because I don't use eyeliner that often in general, so I felt like that one wasn't worth the investment for me. But I did get the exact lip combo that she uses because one, I think it makes a big difference, and two, it was a lip combo that I felt like looking at I would use again and again. So I feel like you do kind of have to pick and choose which products are worth investing for you and which ones aren't. Add a little bit of black eyeliner to the outside. I feel like this works in particular because we are going to go ahead and blend it out afterwards. And since we'll also do a half lash over it, I feel like it's not too crazy to use the black. But if you want a more subtle look, you could use white to brighten the eyes, or you could go ahead and use the brown like she does in the original video. And then again, I'm just blending that out a little bit so it's a softer line. This one is their waterproof one, which I do feel like helps my lashes hold a curl a little bit better than the regular kind, but up to you. I know some people don't love the removal of waterproof mascara, and that is very fair. In the video, she doesn't do bottom mascara, and I originally thought that I wanted that, and so I put it on, and for my photos, I definitely have it, but after the fact, I really wish that I hadn't because I feel like it made them a little bit too long for me, especially with this mascara. Like, it is very lengthening, so just something to keep in mind. Maybe experiment beforehand, unlike how I did it. When it comes to getting your mascara to come out perfectly, I swear by a lash comb. I feel like it helps so much in keeping the lashes more separated. You could go ahead and stop here. I went ahead and added the half lash, which we'll see if I can do that on camera. I'm really not sure. And I did like it, but if lashes aren't your thing, I honestly think that just like this, it's absolutely beautiful. For lashes, I used the Ardell Naked Lashes. I think these are super pretty. They're very affordable, and I just cut them in half with a pair of scissors, like regular scissors. So they look like this, not super crazy. And then I'm using the Kiss, I think it's Kiss. Maybe it's not. It says Lash Couture. Super strong strip lash adhesive, and then just putting that right onto the lash. This honestly stayed on super well, and I am no expert at eyelashes. I almost never use them, so I feel like that says a lot about this particular glue. I got it at Target. It was not very expensive. Then I just kind of give this a little bit of time to be tacky before putting it on the lash. Like it just gives a little bit more drama and lifts the eye to use the half lash, and it's not as overwhelming, especially because I feel like the part of lashes that are most prone to lifting is that inner corner, and since we don't have lashes there, it definitely keeps them on a little bit better, especially if you are actually getting married and you're doing this as full bridal makeup versus how I did it for just engagement photos. I feel like the tears might cause the glue to lift just because it is a little bit more water soluble. Now that we have lashes on, the final step is the lip combo, which I am obsessed with. Like, I think I might use this all the time now. It's the NYX lip liner in the shade Nude Truffle, which is more of a brown color. So it's more of a nude brown color. I feel like I thought it might look too brown on my lips, but it honestly doesn't. Next is the Charlotte Tilbury lipstick in Kim KW, which looks pretty nude here, but I feel like on the lips looks a little bit more pink. And then to top that off, she uses the YSL Candy Glaze in 02. I love YSL Candy Glaze, but if you don't want to splurge, I think that regular gloss will probably give you a similar look, or just whatever clear gloss you have, because this is pretty clear, but I will say this keeps the lips very hydrated. And that is our final makeup look. Overall, I think it's absolutely beautiful, and I am definitely going to be trying more of Danielle's tutorials in the future, just while I kind of start experimenting more with makeup and figuring out what I like headed into my wedding next year.